a lot of the things that Pastor Cook was talking about is being given to young people at a very young age, and I think we really need to become more aware of actually what's going on. I mean, look, everyone's busy. Most people don't really know exactly what's being taught in the schools. The wife is pregnant, and the wife gives birth, and she delivers, and the doctor holds up the baby and says, "Oh, you've got a boy, you've got a girl." Everyone's celebrating, right?
That's right.
It's a gift.
Yeah.
It's a gift. And there's a date that a lot happened. On May 13, 2016, a pretty major event took place that very few people know about. On that date, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, they issued a new transgender mandate. And this is what the mandate says. Title IX prohibitions against discrimination on the basis of sex would henceforth be interpreted to no longer apply to biological males or females, but rather to bar discrimination on the basis of something called gender identity. All right? And then that very same day, the Department of Justice and Education sent a Dear Colleague letter. This was a coordinated attack on natural law in America. To all the nation's schools, setting forth a policy on gender identity defined as an individual's internal sense of gender. The accompanying press release instructed schools to allow students to, quote, participate in sex-segregated activities, access sex-segregated facilities consistent with their gender identity. Because these federal agencies would now treat a student's gender identity as a student's sex for the purposes of enforcing Title IX. Now that's a confusing way of saying that a boy who thinks he's a girl should be treated as if he's actually a girl. Nationwide, okay?
Right.
And, the federal government is involved through these regulations, also through money. They can threaten, if you don't follow our regulations, we take away the money,
Yeah.
okay? So that's another reason why the federal government probably should not be involved with education as the way it is. Now, what is Title IX? Passed in 1972, Title IX of the Education Amendments was intended to ensure that women and girls had equal opportunities in education. Before 1972, it was mostly boys' athletic teams, very few sports activities for girls. Okay, so I think it was a very good thing, actually, that they made it more equal. So now the Obama administration's new interpretation required schools to allow boys unrestricted access to girls' bathrooms, locker rooms, dorm rooms, hotel rooms, and showers. If they're on a school trip, we're talking about, if they claim to identify as girls. Anything less than full access on sex-specific intimate facility of one's choice would be deemed a transphobic denial of civil rights.
Crazy.
Okay. And then they reinterpreted the Affordable Care Act to mandate that all health care plans provide transgender reassignment, treatment, and surgery. I have to say, this was a very well thought out plan. Okay. Now, even though this transgender mandate was put on hold by President Donald Trump when he came into office, that really has not stopped this. Because you have judges making all kinds of legal decisions, right? So I'll give you one example. August 2018, an Oregon judge ruled, quote, high school students do not have a fundamental privacy right to not share school restrooms, lockers, and showers with transgender students whose biological sex is different from theirs. Yeah, it was U.S. District Judge Marco Hernandez. The rights of students who are unwilling and subject to seeing students of the opposite sex naked are not being violated. Okay, that's what he ruled. Now, there's the effect on high school and collegiate sports. Terry Miller and Andrea Yearwood dominated the competition at the Connecticut girls track and field state championships in June 2018. Miller took first place in both the 100 and 200 meter dash. Yearwood finished second in the 100. Both Miller and Yearwood are transgender biological males. But for Selena Soul, a 16-year-old runner from Glastonbury on the right, it meant that she missed qualifying for the 55 meter in the New England Regionals by 2 spots taken by the biological boys. Instead of placing 6th, which she would have been allowed to compete at the higher level, she placed 8th. Okay. Now this is a girl who spent most of her middle school and high school years running, practicing, and having a desire to compete in at the college level, hopefully get a college scholarship, and many things like that. So it is really very unfair for biological males to compete against girls. It's not a fair competition.
Absolutely.
Now, also here in Pennsylvania, last November, one day during her junior year, Alexis Lightcap walked into the girls' restroom and was shocked to see a boy in her bathroom washing his hands. She froze, knowing that something was very wrong, but not knowing what to do. Alexis turned, ran out of the bathroom, and reported the incident to a school instructor. So she thinks, there's a boy in our bathroom. What the heck is he doing there? So she goes to the school administrator, which is what she should do, and complains about it. But instead of listening to her concerns, the administration made her feel as if she were the problem for feeling uncomfortable, unsafe, and vulnerable with the boy in her bathroom. See, we're trying to use the power of government to basically tell people that they shouldn't feel the way they feel, right?
Mind control.
We are experimenting on children and doing things which can make them permanently sterile for the rest of their lives. Is transition surgery the best solution, which is being promoted and even mandated in many parts of the country, also in Canada, other countries? Well, those who have had transition surgery, which is basically amputating the sexual organ, that's what it is. They cut off the penis of the boy, they cut off the breasts of the girl. They are 19 times more likely than average to die by suicide after they've had this surgery. So do you think the surgery is accomplishing the outcome of making them happier?
No.
No, it's not. Okay? Like other social contagions, including cutting, anorexia, bulimia, rapid onset gender dysphoria, is often associated with pre-existing psychological problems, such as anxiety or depression. Some kids are depressed, or they have an anxiety disorder, and you can help them without cutting them up.
Yes.
But this one gets immediate and full support, affirmative care for the patient's state identity, including top surgery, which refers to double mastectomies. Puberty blockers stunt growth, decrease bone density. Individuals taking these hormones require lifelong monitoring for a number of dangerous side effects, including cancer and deep vein thrombosis. Given such
Demons.
lifelong impacts, the use of sex reassignment treatments in children amounts to massive, uncontrolled experiment. Now, there's a vote yesterday, I believe, in the House of Representatives about the Equality, it's called the Equality Act. So, on March 13, 2019, the Equality Act bill was introduced in Congress. It adds sexual orientation, gender identity as protected classes under federal civil rights law. It would force employers and workers to accept new sexual norms or lose their businesses or jobs. Force hospitals and insurers to pay for transgender therapies despite moral or medical objections. It would force ideological education of children in all public schools, and it would harm women by undermining their sex-specific facilities and sports. So this passed in the House of Representatives yesterday. Of course, it's not, we have Republican Senate, and our president's not going to sign this. But in a few years, with a few elections, things could change. Groups with the strongest will to power get to define what is important and what is true. The groups that scream the loudest and bully people the most get what they want. That is the pattern that we're seeing more and more.
This is true. Good point.
The government controls what is said and punishes those who violate speech codes. And this government imposition of this Gnostic transgender delusion, it's a delusion. It's authoritarian because it has to be, because nature and common sense say that doesn't make any sense, right? They have to use government force to force this on people because the average person thinks this is ridiculous.
That's right.
That's right.
Critics who draw attention to reality must be discredited, silenced, or denounced as bigots.
That's true.
Children must be indoctrinated, and they're willing to use children in the vast, uncontrolled experiment whether parents agree or not. Now, I have to say that we're really at it like a tipping point, because they've exposed what they want to do.
Right.
And if Donald Trump had not been elected as president of our country, this would have been
Fast track.
the nation, fast tracked as the nation national law, just as gay marriage was imposed by Supreme Court decision, right? So this would also be imposed nationwide. But with Donald Trump, he put this on hold, but it's still going. That's my point. It's still going. I mean, Boyerstown, Pennsylvania, that school has a transgender policy. Who will stand up for the truth? And I have to say that this kind of discussion needs to take place with people involved in the educational system. It has to. There are all kinds of trainings going on right now to train high school health teachers and other teachers in this whole transgender ideology. The teachers are being indoctrinated. So we need to talk to people in the education system. We need to talk to people in the medical system. There are a lot of doctors who don't want to do this, but they know it's not the right thing to do, but they feel bullied.